Okay, folks, welcome. This is Wager Detective here, 6 o'clock sharp. Here, ready to cap down this Monday Night Football game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Las Vegas Raiders. This should be a scintillating game between two teams, opposing conferences, not having the best years by far for either one of these organizations, but still a classic matchup and a lot of star power. So it should be an exciting game. As we look at the Dallas Cowboys, let's take a look here. Clayton Adams, the offensive coordinator, first-year offensive coordinator. If we look at him, he went to Boise State in college in 2004. Played 1 year, was an offensive lineman. So hence he's the offensive coordinator there. And then Matt Eberflus on the other side, defensive coordinator. Spent his college playing career at Toledo, played a couple years there in 89 and 91 as a linebacker. Hence the reason why he is a defensive coordinator. And he's 3 years as the Chicago Bears head coach, where he had a 14 and 32 record. So the Cowboys said, okay, the Bears let him go, and they said, all right, we found our defensive coordinator with this team. So, Brian Schottenheimer in his first year, all these guys are, this is all their rookie season as far as the positions they hold. You look at Schottenheimer first year, he has a lot of experience as a coach. Coached for a lot of different teams in different capacities, was the offensive coordinator for the Jets for many years, was the Seahawks offensive coordinator, and then was a consultant with the Cowboys, moved up to offensive coordinator for 2 years, and now he's the head coach for the 3-5-1 Dallas Cowboys. So let's take a look and see what the Cowboys have done this year. Okay, we know they can score points. They got 18 passing touchdowns. Quarterback's only been sacked 15 times. That's a bright spot. But if you look at the last game there before the bye, sacked 5 times against Arizona. By far the most he's been sacked all year. I expect that to regress back to the normal of where they have. There's been a couple games where Prescott hasn't been sacked. 10-12, October 12th, and then 9-4, they still lost those games. Even when they give Prescott the clean pocket, doesn't get sacked, lose by 3 to Carolina and lose by 4 to Philly. Okay? We look at rushing, they have 10 rushing touchdowns, so 18 through the air and 10 on the ground. Turnovers, 11, not that bad. 7 of them have been interceptions. The last 3 games for the Cowboys, Prescott has thrown 3, but he's gone a number of games here. 5 games out of the 10 that they've played where Prescott hasn't thrown an interception. Defensively for the Cowboys, let's see what teams are doing. Look at this. 22 passing touchdowns against the Cowboys this year and 11 on the ground. So their teams are taking advantage of that secondary. Either they're that, maybe they're not, the loss of Micah Parsons, not getting pressure on the opposing QB. The Cowboys have sacked their opponents 20 times, so it's a contrast there for them. They don't let their quarterback get sacked a lot, 15, so they're +5 there as far as getting sacks against the opposing team and Prescott getting sacked. But they are getting chewed up in the air, and they did have 5 sacks last week themselves against their last opponent, against Arizona. And if you look, the last 3 weeks they've given up 7 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing. So in the last 3 weeks they've given up a total of 12 touchdowns. Okay, and they've only forced 7 turnovers. So they're not getting turnovers. They're getting more turnovers on offense than they are on defense. And you can see that reflects in their they haven't played the toughest of schedules either. Denver was tough. Green Bay, they had a push. They lost to Chicago pretty bad. They beat the Giants by 3. They lose to Philly by 4. But Not impressive. Not impressive at all. And we look at what they've done this year. They're the favorite tonight. They're 2-4 as a favorite. And let's see the games they have won as a favorite. They beat the Jets. They were favored by 1.5. They won by 15. We look at they played Carolina at Carolina. They were favored by 3. They lost by 3. Washington, they were favored by 1. They crushed the line there. They covered the line by 21 points there, and then they just lost as a favorite on the road. I mean, at home versus Arizona. They were favored by 3 and they lost by 10. So mixed bag there for them as far as covering as a favorite. As far as their overs and unders, they have gone over. They've gone under 3 times in the other games they've gone over. So they're 6 to the over and 3 to the under. And the line they got tonight, 49.5. We see what they've done when they got close to that line. 47.5. It went. Let me see here. Over 44.5 was a game that went over. 46.5. They cleared the total there. 48 went over by quite a bit. 48.5 went over. That was 57. Another game, the line was 54. They got to 66. And then they had the over 51 at Denver in that shootout. And then last week they had the under. So they're heavily more to the over. I mean, the way you look at what's going on here, I'm already leaning that way because they give up passing yards. I mean, we've seen that. So let's see who they'll be playing. Like I said, they haven't had the toughest schedule this year. If we see who they're playing Las Vegas. I will let you know Vegas is 5-10 in their last 15 home games. Over that span, over that 15, they're plus minus between the plus and the minus. They're only minus 0.8 points per game over that span. They're 2-7 in their last 9 at home, minus 3.88 points per game on their plus minus there. And then their last 7 at home, they're 2-5, and the plus minus differential per game is minus 2.57. The Cowboys, their last 11 on the road, they're 4-7. Their plus minus over that span is minus 4.36. Average score is about 51 points a game. In their last 9, Cowboys are 3-6 on the road, and their plus minus is minus 5 points per game there, with an average score of about 53 points per game. So let's get into the Raiders here. They're 2-7, coached by Pete Carroll. We know all about Pete Carroll. Great Hall of Fame coach, won a Super Bowl. And look at all those years. Look at him. I mean, he's just fantastic. He's coached 300 games, and he's exactly on the mark. And he's 172, 127 in a push for 58% win percentage. And but he's having a tough time of it this year. 2-7 with a 22% winning percentage in his first year with the Raiders. Okay, now we get to what they do. And I forgot to do this with the Cowboys. We'll go back to that. But team rankings here, we look at what they do. They've turned the ball over 14 times. That's 29th worst in the NFL. They've only created 10 turnovers, puts them exactly like right in the middle of the pack. Offensively yards, they're 30th in the NFL, but they do a good job limiting other teams to gain yards on them. They're 12th in the NFL there. Passing, they got 11 touchdowns for 25th best in the NFL. And ironically enough, defensively, they've only given up 12 touchdowns in the air, which puts them at 11th defensively. So they don't give up what the strong suit is for the Cowboys, which is scoring through the air. Rushing the ball, I can't believe they only got 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. That puts them at 30th in the NFL. And then they've given up 12 touchdowns, which puts them at 29th in the NFL. And you look at that scoring percentage, they score 27.8% of the time. That puts them at 30th in the NFL. And, they're just average drive offensively. Plays per drive, 31st. Yards per drive, 30th. And points per drive, 30th. So they're not really getting the job done there. But they are a little bit better defensively than they are offensively. 20th in plays per drive against them. 15th in yards per drive and 20th in points per drive against them on that defense. That seems to be getting better. We look and see what they've done. Last week they went to Denver and they lost that game. So they're gonna have an 11-day break here because they played on that Thursday night at Denver. So even though Dallas is coming off the bye, Pete Carroll's had a little bit of time here to prepare for the Cowboys, and we look what they've done. I mean, they're just not really a team that is. I think I said this before. I think Chip Kelly is the problem over there, but that remains to be seen. Third down conversions, they're 15th in the NFL, and they're dead last at letting teams convert. They're 30th in the NFL on defense at letting teams convert to third down conversion. And if we look at red zone, they're 28th in the NFL. They've scored 11 touchdowns in 23 attempts. And on defense, they've let teams score 20 touchdowns on 34 attempts for 16th best. So not bad, not great. But they're not getting it done once they do get it in the red zone. We look at Geno Smith, 11 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions. I mean, that's just brutal. I mean, you would think there would be a continuity there since he played with Carroll in Seattle, but apparently that's not there. Ashton Jenney, the star out of Boise State, he's only got 4 touchdowns in his rookie year, and that's the only guy that's gotten the end zone on the ground this year for them. 4 rushing touchdowns. Passing, they got 11. They're just not prolific at scoring the game. And you know, when you look at this game, they got the line set at 49.5. I just don't. All the numbers I'm looking at that I got in front of me on paper, these teams, you know, how the Cowboys play on the road against the AFC, their numbers are a little higher. But if you look at home games for the Raiders versus the NFC over their last 13 and their last 15 overall at home, none of those numbers are touching anywhere near the total. And you look at, they only got 11 passing touchdowns on the year. I mean, it's like, I don't know why that total's so high, and they only got 4 rushing. So as bad as the Cowboys are, it's not like the Raiders are, you know, lighting up the scoreboard. We see Ashton Jenney's got 3 receiving touchdowns. Trey Tucker's got 4. Brock Bowers, who just came back, who could be a bright spot for them, has 3 touchdowns. But they're just not getting it done. Kicks and returns, nobody there stands out. Raheem Mostert leads the NFL in kick returns, yards returned with 32.4. That's a bright spot for him. Kicking, Daniel Carlson, one of my favorite kickers in the NFL. I don't know why, but he's having a bad year too. 12 for 16, only 3 for 6 from 50 plus. So they don't even have the advantage there. I think Aubrey for the Cowboys is probably the better field goal kicker here. So I give the Cowboys the advantage there. Punting, A.J. Cole looks to be the guy that's doing the primary punting here. He's got 32. Average punt about 47.6 yards per punt. And he does have 32 punts, and 37% of them are landing inside the 20-yard line. Defensively, they only got 6 receptions. Only 33 passes deflected. They're not getting into the lanes. Fumble recoveries, they got 7, and then they got 17 sacks. I mean, it's just so low. 54 tackles for loss and 37 quarterback hits. I've seen higher than that in my and you know the guy over there that's getting it done, Max Crosby, is their main guy. And what has he done this year? I mean, let's take a look. Max Crosby's got 5 sacks on the year, guys. I mean, stop. Give me a break. They're getting no pressure on the quarterback, and that's going to be a problem against a team that doesn't get sacked a lot. You know, Prescott's only been sacked 11 times, and he's been sacked 5 times in his last game. So almost half of all the sacks Prescott's had this year have come against just in the last week. And now I'm sure they've had plenty of time to kind of work out the problems there. So I think Prescott's is gonna cook tonight with all the weapons they got over there. I want to take a look and see what they've done against the line as a dog. They are 3-4 against as an underdog. And let's take a look here. They've been a dog in every single one of their games. 3, they lost that 3.5 spread right there against the Chargers. They lost by 11. They lost that same spread that's kind of set up tonight, the 3.5. They lost to Washington by 3. They lost by 17 in that game. Anywhere around that number. They did win the 2.5-point dog against Jacksonville. They covered that one by 1.5. I mean, if I'm looking at this line, let me go back. I want to go back to the Cowboys here because I didn't get a chance to talk about their stats. I want to take a look at the Cowboys. I mean, they're just so prolific. They're not good on defense, but they're great on offense. It's like night and day. They're third in yards. They're second in first downs. They move the chain, but they let their opponents convert on third down. But that's not a strength of the Raiders, right? They don't convert on third downs, as we just said. So, you look at that. They got 18 touchdowns passing. That's third in the NFL. But they've given up 22 through the air. But you look at the Raiders. I mean, it's like who are you? You got Brock Bowers. He's back. I'm sure the Cowboys are going to have a plan for him. You look at what else the Cowboys. They're third in the NFL in scoring percentage. I mean, every time they get the ball, they're scoring about 47% of their possessions. And average drive, they're 9th in plays per drive, they're 5th in yards per drive, and they're 6th in points per drive. But again, almost the polar opposite. If they can stop the Raiders on third down, I think it's gonna make way for that spread to cover late. I got the better field goal kicker. We look at third down conversions. They're 6th in the NFL in third down conversions, but they're 32nd in giving up the third down conversion. But again, not a strength of the Raiders, not a strength of Geno Smith, who's having a horrible year, 11 interceptions. Prescott's got 7, but you're still +4 there if you're the Cowboys. We look at look what they do in the red zone. They're 13th in the red zone, but they're 30th in red zone defense. But again, it goes back to the Raiders. Raiders are not good in the red zone. They're just not. So we look at Prescott. He's leading the NFL in first downs with 114. That means they keep the drives going, drives alive. He's being protected. He's not being sacked a lot. He's got a 73.9 quarterback rating. That's got to be, that bold lettering either means it's good or bad. It doesn't sound like it's a high rating, right? He's only being sacked 4.36% of his dropbacks. He does have 2 fourth-quarter comebacks and 1 game-winning drive. What do they do on the ground? Let's take a look here at how they score. Javonte Williams, 8 touchdowns. So he's double the best running back for the Raiders, who is Genty. He's got 4, so he doubled up on that total right there. And then Miles Sanders and Prescott have gotten into the end zone for a touchdown apiece. If we look at receiving, they got multiple guys that can beat you, man. I mean, George Pickens and Jake Ferguson got 6 apiece. And then a bunch of guys that got 1 apiece. Tolbert, Turpin, CeeDee Lamb's got 1. You got to think he's going to start getting into the script a little bit more. Injury report that we look and see if any big names are out. Solomon Thomas is out, and then a bunch of guys are questionable. So everybody's a full go here. And then kicking and punt returns. Who stands out here? Anybody special? Okay, Turpin looks to be the main kick return guy. 25.8 yards per kick return. Okay. Kicking, as we said, Brandon Aubrey, 17 to 18. So he's 5 for 6 from 50 plus. So the Cowboys get into that range, as we said. Carlson not having a good year. He's having a hard time in the 50 plus. So I definitely got the advantage with the field goal kicker. Aubrey does have 54 kickoffs, and about 28% of them are landing for touchbacks. Punting, Brian Anger, he has 29 punts on the year, about 47 yards per punt, and about 38% of them are landing in the 20, inside the 20. Look at defensively for the Cow. This video is getting a little long here. I want to keep it short. Cowboys only got 4 interceptions on the year, 5 forced fumbles, 19 sacks, compared to the Raiders' 17, so marginally better there. 46 tackles for loss and 53 quarterback hits. So the Raiders look to be a slightly better of a defensive team, even though the metrics of who they're playing. And They haven't played the toughest of schedules. Let's take a look at the schedule here. I mean, we know they got beat before the bye week. They lost to Arizona. They lost to Denver. They beat Washington by 22. You say what you want about Washington. You beat a team by 22 points. You lost to the Carolina by 3. You beat up on the Jets by 15. You tied Green Bay. Let's not forget about that game. You lost to Chicago by 17. We'll give you that. We'll talk about that. But if you look at that game, they had 4 turnovers in that game. So let's not lose sight of that. You lose by 17, but you had 4 turnovers. That's a key stat. You beat the Giants by 3 in overtime, and you lose to a tough Philly team who won the Super Bowl last year in Philly by 4. So, like I said, we know what they do. We know what the Cowboys do. 18 touchdowns and in the air and 10 on the ground. And teams primarily, they pass on them. I mean, you had multiple games where they've given up 4 touchdown passes against Chicago, but that was with the Cowboys' 4 turnovers. Who knows what it would have been if they didn't. And then you gave up 4 at Denver. I don't think the Raiders are a team that have, the quarterback that those two teams have, and the defenses that those two teams have. We know Chicago is like one of the best in the NFL at getting turnovers. Listen, I'm gonna cut this short. I'm gonna get to it. If I'm gonna lean on this game, I'm gonna take the Cowboys to cover this spread tonight, -3.5 on the road. And if I'm gonna look at an over under, I have to look. I know both defenses are not good, but the home splits for the Raiders last 15. They're not. Listen, their last 15 games, 46 points total at home. Their last 9 at home games are about 41 points a game. Their last 7 are 39.7 points per game. And listen, the Cowboys' numbers on the road, 49.3 over their last 15, 51.3 over their last 11, 52.6 over their last 15. If it does go over, it's going to be because the Cowboys pulled away, got the job done. But I think my stronger play here is going to be the Cowboys -3.5. They go into Las Vegas after the bye, and they find a way to cover the spread and win by at least 4. So that's going to be the call here. This is Wager Detective. It got a little long here, 23 minutes roughly. It is November 17th, 2025, 6:24 p.m. from Atlantic City. This is Wager Detective. Cowboys -3.5 and against the Raiders, and I'll talk to you soon.